Welcome to Worldwide Birds, your home for the sights and sounds of the bird world. From stunning feathers to fascinating facts, let's take flight together.
Okay, this is what's going on in my aviary. The first nest we're going to check is this one. And I've modified this wall. I made it, it's the same height, but I made it a little bit narrower. And I don't have a garland on top, I have this shade cloth, and it seems to work okay also. Anyway, if you can get down here, there's some babies. There's a lot of little babies in that, but they're very tiny.
Move your hand a little bit. Oh my goodness. Okay.
And cover them back up, and Mom and Dad will come back soon. Now the next thing we're going to look at is this wall here. This is the usual size wall that I have in my sun porch. And they've tried building nests and nothing was really very good. But I checked this morning and there is a nest in here and a few eggs. So if you can look in here, I moved the garland, and this has 4 eggs. Can you get the eggs?
Oh yeah.
And so this is an active nest now. They haven't started sitting, incubating the eggs, but soon. And we'll check this wall. I'm always moving these walls around. This was a place where I had a wall, but I took it outside, needs cleaning. So here's another one. Uh-oh. And remove the garland, and there seems to be a nest here, and no eggs.
No eggs in there.
I don't hold out much hope for that one. One other thing I want to show you is this. It's a cage that they can go out into and get real sunshine.
Okay, outside with a door. Excellent.
Okay.
I got to show this. What is this? A papaya plant?
Yeah.
All right.
Careful. Now I'm going to hoe this compost, and we'll see if we can attract any birds. There's a lot of sprouts in there. It'll take them a minute to realize what I'm doing, and they may not come in time. We'll run out of film, or whatever it is. I guess they're on this side. We'll just go ahead and look at that later. Today I'm going to walk around my sun porch and show you some things. Here's one of the composts, and there's a couple birds in here. See if I can find them. There's one. There's a couple. I try to hoe the compost a couple times a week. These are such tiny birds that it's a nest for fear that I will scare them out of the nest too early. But these are due to fledge today, so if they jump out, I'm not going to be too worried about it. Oh, they've fledged. So they're out here somewhere. They have a little green easy band on their leg. There's 4 of them. Now we're going to check wall number 2. And I don't remember what's out here, if anything. I have this all written down. This one had some babies that just fledged recently, and they've started to build another nest in a different spot. They're building the nest instead of in this plastic canary container. They built their own. They're building their own nest right here, and this one has.
Welcome to the deep dive. If you're aiming to, really get a handle on breeding strawberry finches, you're in the right place.
Exactly. We're going to give you that fast track, kind of the essential knowledge you need.
We've gone through the details so you don't have to wade through everything just to find out what actually works.
And our main source today is a great article by Nancy Ingram from Worldwide Birds magazine.
Right. And Nancy's the real deal here. She's been breeding these specific finches since 2011.
Oh, yeah. She's got publications, presentations under her belt. Serious stuff.
And this article, it's not static either. Originally from August 2019, but updated just this past August 2024. Petrus Albertus Van Tonder introduced it.
That shows it's still relevant, still trusted information.
And one thing that jumps out right away is the bigger context.
You mean keeping them going in the bird trade?
Exactly. Without imports, successful captive breeding is, well, it's everything. It really highlights why understanding this stuff is so important.
It does. And Nancy's experience, she spent 6 years just experimenting to figure out her methods. Started back in 2005.
6 years? That tells you it wasn't straightforward. So what was her breakthrough?
Well, it was quite unique. She breeds them on a sun porch.
A sun porch.
And here's the kicker. She used 2 composts to raise fruit flies right there on the porch.
Whoa, wait. Compost bins? For flies? As food?
Yep. Live food right where the birds are. She described the scene: smells of decomposing plants, fermenting fruit, lots of insects.
Okay, I'm picturing this. It sounds earthy, almost like a mini ecosystem she created.
Pretty much. And that seems to be part of the magic, recreating those natural environmental cues.
The bugs, the smells, maybe things we wouldn't normally think of as clean breeding conditions.
Right. Though she did mention a temporary downside.
Oh.
Apparently, it led to a bit of a spider problem for a while. Yeah. Her granddaughter wasn't exactly thrilled about that.
Huh. Okay, so maybe some unexpected consequences to manage there.
A little reminder, yeah. But despite the, let's say, organic setting, she pinpointed one structure as being absolutely crucial.
After all that trial and error.
Yes.
Yes.
A nesting setup she calls a wall.
A wall. Tell me about this wall. What makes it so special?
Okay, so picture this. 2 sides made of lath, about 2 feet square each.
Lath, like thin wood strips.
Exactly. And between these 2 lath sides, there are baskets, 4 inches deep, separating them.
So it's hollow inside.
Right, creating this hollow interior space.
Yeah.
And the baskets, they form a kind of shelf inside,
Yeah.
about 4.5 inches from the very top.
Huh. That's very specific.
Very. And she was careful, too.
Yeah.
Made sure all the wire ends from the baskets were smoothed down.
Smart. To prevent injuries or leg bands getting snagged.
Precisely. Safety first.
Yeah.
Then this whole wall structure, she covers it with artificial foliage.
Makes it look natural, hidden.
Yeah, and just places it on the floor, right up against an existing wall of the sun porch.
So it's offering this really deep, dark, protected feeling space.
That seems to be the key. It's not just a nest box. It's this very specific kind of secluded sanctuary she created.
And connecting back to our listeners wanting the deep knowledge, this detail shows why it worked. It's about understanding what makes these finches feel secure.
Exactly. So if you're setting up, thinking about how to replicate that feeling of security is probably more important than copying the exact dimensions,
Right. Now, Nancy's sun porch sounds amazing, but probably not practical for everyone.
No, definitely not. Most people will be using cages.
So if you're starting out with cages, what's the advice?
Keep it simple, at first anyway. Start with just 1 pair.
1 pair only.
Yes. And give them the biggest cage you possibly can. Space seems critical.
And only think about adding other compatible birds later.
Much later, and only if that first pair is breeding successfully. Don't complicate things initially.
Makes sense. Focus on the strawberries first. So how do you create that hidden nest feeling inside a cage, similar to the wall?
The recommendation is to take a standard canary nest and kind of tuck it inside a loose structure, maybe some wire or plastic mesh, and cover that really well with artificial foliage.
So camouflage it heavily.
Very heavily. And place it towards the back, or maybe a far corner, somewhere less exposed.
Maximize the privacy.
Right. And crucially, don't just provide 1. Offer 2, maybe even 3 of these hidden nest spots.
Give them choices.
Exactly. Let them pick the one where they feel safest. It empowers them a bit.
That choice aspect feels really important. Now, the article had a pretty stark warning, didn't it, about housing multiple strawberry pairs together.
Oh, absolutely. This is a huge red flag. Non-negotiable, really.
What happens?
Do not house two pairs of strawberry finches in the same cage, period.
Okay, why?
The males can become incredibly aggressive towards each other, to the point where one might actually kill the other.
Wow, lethal aggression.
Yes. And the losing male's female often suffers too. The dominant pair might prevent her from accessing food or water.
That's brutal. So, separate cages for each breeding pair, no exceptions.
No exceptions. It's vital for their safety and well-being.
Got it. And what about birds you're not currently breeding, like extra adults or young birds?
Standard practice there is keep extra adults separated by sex. Males in one cage, females in another.
Prevent squabbles.
Right. And for the newly independent chicks, before you can reliably tell their sex, they can usually be housed together for a while.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've covered environment, housing. What other, pitfalls should people watch out for? Common mistakes.
Well, one big factor is the age of the birds.
Age? How so?
Their peak fertility window is actually quite specific. It's generally between 1.5 and 4.5 years old.
Okay, 1.5 to 4.5 years. And their total lifespan?
Usually around 5 to 7 years in captivity. So that breeding window is a significant portion, but not the whole time.
And the problem is knowing their age, I guess.
Exactly. Especially with unbanded birds or birds that might have been imported some time back. You just don't know for sure. This is where close-banded birds are really valuable. Those bands, usually put on when they're very young, often have a year code.
So you get a reliable birth year. That's crucial for knowing if they're in that prime breeding age range.
It really is.
Yeah.
Starting with birds outside that window,
Yeah.
well, you're making it harder from the get-go.
Okay, age is key. What else?
Cage size. Again, it comes up repeatedly. Largest possible cage, or ideally a flight.
Bigger is always better for these guys.
Seems so. The article makes an interesting point comparing them to canaries.
Oh, how so?
Canaries have been bred in cages since, the 1600s. They're highly domesticated to that environment.
Centuries of adaptation.
Right. Strawberry finches. They're relatively new to cage life, comparatively speaking. Their wild instincts are much, much stronger.
And in the wild, they'd be doing what? Foraging constantly?
Exactly. Covering ground, searching for food. That's a natural behavior you just can't replicate in a small cage.
So the lack of that opportunity might stress them out or just not trigger the right breeding behaviors.
It seems likely. That connection to their natural instincts is really strong.
Even in captivity.
Absolutely. Nancy even observed her finches hunting on the fruit fly bowls she provided.
Hunting the flies.
Yeah. It's a small detail, but it shows how ingrained that foraging drive is. Providing any opportunity for them to express those natural behaviors seems beneficial.
That's a fantastic insight. It's not just about food and water, it's about behavior.
Totally. It's the whole picture.
So as we kind of pull this all together, what are the main takeaways from Nancy Ingram's experience for someone wanting to breed strawberries successfully?
Well, the article points out something interesting near the end. A lot of people find they seem kind of easy to breed at first.
Oh.
Like they'll get a first nest relatively quickly.
Yeah, maybe a clutch or two, but then it stops.
So the real challenge isn't just getting them to breed once.
Exactly. It's achieving multiple, consistent, successful nesting cycles, year after year. That's the tricky part. Getting that first nest doesn't mean you've, cracked the code. Sustained success requires that deeper understanding we've been talking about.
Precisely. The article really stresses that consistent breeding of this species is actually quite difficult.
Which goes back to why sharing information is so important.
Absolutely. Sharing successful methods, like Nancy's, within the aviculture community is vital. It helps ensure they stay available in the trade without needing wild captures. It's a collaborative effort, really.
It's also worth noting Nancy is not just a one-trick pony, so to speak. She also breeds orange-breasted waxbills and green-singing finches.
Yeah, shows she has broad expertise in finch husbandry. Really knows her stuff. And there was also an invitation from Petrus A. Van Tonder.
Ah, the introducer of the article.
Right. He invites people to subscribe to the Premier magazine for more in-depth articles, including back issues specifically on breeding strawberries, plus other subscriber benefits. There's a link for that.
Good resources. And there were links for other related topics, too.
Yeah, further reading on breeding common wax bills, something about fostering finches, and Petrus Van Tonder's Instagram profile, too. Lots of avenues to keep learning.
Definitely encourages diving deeper into the community and the knowledge base.
For sure. Successful breeding isn't usually a solo effort. It's about learning from others and reliable sources.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to chew on.
Yeah.
Think about that balance Nancy struck. Creating an artificial environment, yes, but one deeply informed by the natural behaviors and needs of the strawberry finch. How critical is that understanding of innate nature?
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Mm.
What other things that seem simple on the surface, maybe activities we try to control or replicate?
Right, might have hidden complexities tied to underlying natural patterns. And reflecting on Nancy's methods, which of those less conventional techniques, like the compost-fueled sun porch or that specific wall design, stood out most to you?
What do you think made them click for the finches?
Exactly. Food for thought. And if this has piqued your interest further, definitely check out the Worldwide Birds website or those other resources we mentioned. Keep exploring the fascinating world of finch breeding and aviculture.
It's a rewarding journey.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.